Pickle, hit the air raid signer. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout, of course, when we overreact to the football weekend, and there is plenty to overreact to in this, coming off of week 12, which was also the first week of the small school playoffs. So a lot to overreact to. We'll start with my three big thoughts. Thought number one, chalky, except when it's not. I think if you take a look overall at the first round of the 4A, 3A, 2A, and 1A Texas high school football playoffs, the overwhelming feeling you're going to get is, okay, yeah, it held to form. Like there just wasn't a ton of, there wasn't a ton of chaos. There wasn't a ton of, like, on balance, there weren't all these crazy things that happened. There's always 1 week of the playoffs, it seems like, where everything goes crazy town banana pants. This was not it. Like, this was most of the favorites won. Many of the favorites won very handily. Many of the games were not in doubt. Just like that, right? It was pretty chalky. But where it wasn't in relatively shocking ways. The upset of the week is Nevada Community beating Glen Rose.
Yeah.
That is a game that it's not just an upset. That is not a game I gave a second thought to. Here is my complete pregame analysis for Glen Rose and Nevada Community. Glen Rose playing Nevada Community. So we'll see Glen Rose in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like it was one of those games that you don't even like you read it on the list of games and you don't stop. You say next game. A shocking win, but a great win for the Braves. They were one of 12 4 seeds to advance through the playoffs. 12. That means they went, so 12 of 96. 12 of 96 4 seeds in the 11-man ranks won their games. I was thinking about this. I don't think that's the equivalent of a 16 beating a 1 in the playoff and in the March Madness. That's a little bit too extreme to me.
Yeah.
I do think it is the equivalent of like a 13 beating a 4.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, because, 1 and 16, that happens almost never. So, but
it's happened once, basically. And
right.
Twice. If you has that been twice or 3 times?
Twice.
Yeah, and then there was at least one in the play, and there was at least one in the women's, maybe 2.
So
at least one. Anyway,
that's like the when we always do the looking at the odds thing. Almost never happens. But yeah, a 13 and 4 type of thing where it's really unlikely, but it does happen, and it's just as exciting when it does.
Right.
I would agree.
Right. Exactly. And so what I want you to think about is that would be so 12%. That's basically 12% of the 4 seeds that made it through the playoffs. That made it. That would be really impressive. Like if that happened in the March Madness. But we had 12 seeds. I would say the other one that really surprised me was Lexington's win over East Bernard. I mentioned it. Man, go back and watch bracketology. I mentioned that. I was like, look, Lexington is a super high ceiling team. Thought number 2, COVID strikes back. And we don't like to talk about this here, but that is the story of college football in Texas right now. I believe we had 3 FBS games canceled last week. We've got at least 2 this week. If you missed the news this morning, Texas A&M's game with Ole Miss has been postponed. I shouldn't say canceled. It's been postponed. They will not play. They're not playing that game this week. UAB and UTEP already got canned. And that is, it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes from now, because for the college football ranks, they're running out of time. And it's not like, I would say actually, I think high school is in a better position to absorb cancellations and rejigger the schedule on the fly than college is, because college has so many different moving parts to get a game together, right? They have to move these things around. They have to do these things. With high school, they can just play the 5-day rule and just say, okay, well, we'll play Monday and then we'll play Saturday and then we'll play Thursday and then we'll play or Wednesday. It like goes on and on. That's what's going to be really interesting here is if these cancellations and postponements continue in the college ranks, where do we go from here? Because we're kind of running out of time to finish the college football season. And thought number 3, big school breakouts. Or breakthroughs, rather. I think I sent you.
Yep.
Either way it works. Obviously, a lot of attention is going to be paid to the playoffs because the playoffs have more at stake. But I thought there were a number of results in the big school ranks, 6A and 5A, that were particularly noteworthy. I thought that Manville's big win over Richmond Foster is a pretty big statement. What Manville did, they beat them 66-28. This is a Manville team that we thought was a year early, and they still may be, but all that does is make them extremely scary in 21. They're already scary in 2020, but they absolutely dominate Richmond Foster. Extremely impressive from the Mavericks. I thought Texas High's win over Longview Pine Tree in a game that we had circled was extremely impressive. Now, from what I understand, DJ Freeman got nicked up in this game, but I believe the game was pretty well in hand at that point. But Texas High, I know that they are not in a major metro area, right? But it's time to start taking them really seriously. Like, that defense is legit. And the way that their offense is going with the balance that they have is extremely impressive. Texas High, that one. Allen beats Denton Geyer, and that is a game that the score is a lot closer than it actually was. Right. Allen jumped all over Geyer, and I thought throttled them for the majority of that game. And that was a statement to me. They did not necessarily quell my concerns. Allen didn't, about their defense. I think their defense still leaves a little bit to be desired. But there ain't no doubt if they're going to run the ball like that, it may not matter what kind of defense they have, because that was extremely impressive from the Eagles. The other one I wanted to mention, go ahead.
I think Allen knew going into that game too. They had been in you're in the Plano district, do they really have that district where you can get some actual competition out of it? And it's like, yeah, we do now, and we did our thing.
Yeah,
don't doubt us anymore.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, that was a big question, right? That the district decidedly got tougher with Denton, Geyer, and Prosper. They passed arguably their biggest tests with flying colors. And yeah, it was extremely impressive from Allen. And then Duncanville's win over Cedar Hill, 28-14. That Duncanville defense is nasty. Like, I know they're replacing a lot of pieces, but that Duncanville defense is really nasty, and they're going to be a problem going forward. And to hold that high-powered Cedar Hill attack to just 14 points is extremely impressive. So there were some big school things of note in this week as well. Let's get to my 3 helmet stickers. A helmet sticker for center running back Kamadre Horse, but they call him Red. 271 yards and 3 touchdowns for center in their come-from-behind victory. Texas Tech kicker Jonathan Garibay, pretty much their most impactful player on Saturday in the Butt Bowl. That was, he kicks the game winner. He kicked like a 47-yarder earlier in the game. He was responsible for almost all of their scoring. And we got a great piece up on him. Shahan Jayaraja, our college football insider, has a great piece up on him on TexasFootball.com. You should read. It's a really, really cool story about Jonathan Garibay, a helmet sticker for him. And a helmet sticker for Bernie defensive back Houston Hendricks. 9 tackles, a tackle for loss, a pass breakup, 2 interceptions, and returned one of those interceptions for a touchdown. So a helmet sticker for Bernie defensive back Houston Hendricks. 3 teams to watch. Team to watch. George West. George West put it on Stockton, or rather Odom last week. That's one of those 4s over 1s. Odom was a district champion in that one. But George West, 49-12 over Odom. Extremely impressive. Jumped all over them. They got a huge game on the ground, running for 343 yards, most especially from their sophomore quarterback, Jake Snyder, who ran for 179 yards and 4 touchdowns. Keep an eye on George West. They get Buffalo this week. That is a really interesting test. Keep an eye on the Longhorns, George West. Stephen F. Austin, we haven't talked a ton about the small school ranks because basically there hasn't been much small college action. But all of a sudden, Stephen F. Austin has won 5 straight. They beat Angelo State. They beat Abilene Christian. They beat Western State. They beat Eastern Kentucky. And then this past week, they beat Pittsburgh State 26-7. They play I believe they play this week against Memphis. They will probably not win that game, in my opinion. But overall, for a schedule that was thrown together at the last second, and after 3 weeks where they lose to UTEP, UTSA, and SMU, they have kind of figured it out, and they're sitting there at they've won, in fact, 6 in a row. They've won 6 in a row because they beat West Texas A&M on the 3rd. So keep an eye on Coach Carthel's squad. Their season's wrapping up this week, but certainly keep an eye on what the Lumberjacks are doing. And finally, Columbus. You know, we talked about this coming into the week, that this was a real bellwether game, Columbus and Rockdale. And what Columbus went out there to do, and their defense absolutely stymieing a very high-powered Rockdale attack. It's very impressive. Very impressive. I think it's pretty clear that District 12 ended up going 3-1 in their by-district round. The only team that lost was the 4 seed. Columbus is going to be a problem, and I think that District 12 is going to be a problem in 3A Division 1. They're in Region 3. So
that was one of the
those are 3
I
teams
saw that I was very
yeah.
Oh wow, okay, this isn't a pretender, this is a contender.
Well, yeah, and we had highlights on Fox. I can't remember who was there, but we had a reporter down there at Fox, and it was really impressive. They took charge of that and ran the ball rally. Got a great game from the quarterback Ty Thomas. Very impressive from Columbus. Keep an eye on them. 3 games to watch this upcoming weekend. Lampasas and Corpus Christi Miller, 8 o'clock Saturday at Ferris Stadium in San Antonio. I'm gonna go. Okay, I will just say this. Here's a stone cold guarantee for Corpus Christi Miller and Lampasas. Stone cold guarantee. You remember Lexington and East Bernard? That it was 0-0 going into the second overtime. Here's a stone cold guarantee. That will not happen in this game. That's a lock.
No, they're
a
letting
lock.
it sail.
Oh, that 2 high-powered offenses going out. I'm really excited about that
Step
one.
will be there for that one.
Yeah, that game kicks off at 8. It may not end until 3. I'm just glad Steph's not on deadline. 11 a.m. Saturday, Houston and SMU. The battle of the two best group of 5 teams in Texas. Apologies to UTSA. This is a game we've had circled. Houston coming off a big win over South Florida. SMU coming off of a heartbreaking loss to Tulsa. How do they handle that? That's going on 11 a.m. Saturday there in Dallas. And then biggest game of the weekend is 6:30 p.m. Thursday night in Garden City. The Balmorhea Bears and the Jayton Jaybirds play in the 1A Division II area round. We'll talk more about this week. I think there's a fair argument to be made that these are the 2 best teams in 1A Division II. And if that's the case, then this is going to be fantastic and could be for at least the driver's seat to win a state championship. So Balmorhea and Jayton, 3 to see. That's 3 to see. That is Monday Morning Fallout.